with her and her mother, Lori. And without further ado, I give you Olivia.
Okay, my name is Olivia Heusinkfeld. It's quite a name. My project is called The Impact of the Special Olympics. Oh wait, no, The Innovation of the Special Olympics, Impacting Lives and Changing Minds. Imagine that you're going back to the 1960s before the Special Olympics existed, when people with intellectual disabilities were often just shut away. I'm so embarrassed that Ronnie is retarded. What did I do wrong? Susie can't learn. Put her in an institution. Don't let Bobby outside to play. He'll hurt himself. I told Bertha, Martha is dead, even though we just put her in an institution. Until the mid-20th century, people with intellectual disabilities were often treated like outsiders. But in 1968, children of all ages were able to show their talents and abilities to themselves and families, rather than being put aside in institutions or simply ignored. This innovative event, known as the Special Olympics, led to the beginning of a new era of opportunities and acceptance for those with intellectual disabilities. Despite little support and scarce knowledge of the Special Olympics by the general public, the impact the games had on the athletes and their families was life-changing. To think it all started with one simple day camp. There weren't many options for children with intellectual disabilities at that time. If you gave birth to such a child, like I did, it was terrible. Mental retardation was thought of as a shameful disease and was not tolerated. These children were given little chance for proper education and a regular social life. Often, out of ignorance, people were afraid of them, so they were not accepted or thought to be capable of completing a proper education or holding a job. Some parents thought it would be too difficult or looked down upon if they kept a child with an intellectual disability, so they were often locked in basements or put aside in lonely institutions, or more like hospitals than homes. It was 1962 when I called Mrs. Eunice Kennedy Schreiber on the verge of tears. I told her that no summer camp would allow my sweet daughter Cindy to participate because she had an intellectual disability. Mrs. Schreiber had always been very kind and supported those with intellectual disabilities because her older sister Rosemary was mentally handicapped. Mrs. Schreiber and her family had also founded the Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. Foundation, established to help improve the lives of those living with intellectual disabilities. Hello? You know, if it weren't for my sister Rosemary, I wouldn't have ever known anything about handicapped children. How would I have ever found out? Because nobody accepted them anyplace. All right, come to my house 1 month from today, and I'll start my own camp. No charge to go to the camp, but you do have to get your child here, and you have to come pick them up. Thank you very much. This was the greatest news I had ever heard. They called it Camp Schreiber. I saw kids running and jumping, laughing and horseback riding, just like any other child would. This surprised me because I had always heard that these children should not go outside and fear of hurting themselves. These children weren't in pain. They actually seemed to be enjoying themselves. Over the years, Camp Schreiber grew. New research had been done about the mentally retarded and their physical activities. The 1967 studies declared that approximately 25% of those living with intellectual disabilities had only 1 hour of physical activity per week, and 45% had no physical activity at all. These children had half the strength of their children their age. They grew tired 30% faster and had 35% more body parts. Children and adults with intellectual disabilities needed opportunities for physical activity. Mrs. Schreiber and the Joseph P. Kennedy Foundation recognized this and decided to start something. Soon after, the Chicago Park District approached Mrs. Schreiber and the Joseph P. Kennedy Foundation about hosting a track meet for the mentally retarded. They then hit upon the idea of a sports competition, slightly modeled after the Olympics. The Special Olympics was born. The only problem was getting people involved. There was no point, what a lost cause. I not allow my child to participate in this. I do not want him to be categorized and made fun of. Despite much doubt and speculation, many states and Canada decided to send some of their mentally retarded citizens to compete at the Special Olympics' first ever games. Finally, July 20th, 1968 arrived. 1,000 athletes, aged from ages 8 to 17 arrived, including my daughter Cindy. Mrs. Schreiber stood up and welcomed all the athletes. In ancient Rome, the gladiators went to the arena with these words on their lips: "Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt." Today, all of you young athletes are in the arena. Many of you will win, but even more important, I know you'll be brave and bring credit to your parents and to your country. Let us begin the Olympics. Medals were given to the winners, but everyone received ribbons for participation. It didn't matter if they won or lost, because they were happy knowing that they had tried their best. For the first time in their lives, they were on top of the world. They weren't treated like they had an intellectual disability. They were treated like real people, and everyone was able to succeed. They were separated by age and by capability, making the games always fair and fun. As some kids received their medals, they were squealing and smiling. Some of them had never made a noise before in their lives. Special Olympics gave these children something no one else had ever given them. A chance to show not just others, but themselves how important and special they really are. By saying, "Look what I can do." It raised their expectations higher, leaving them asking, "If I can do this, what else can I do?" It often helped them break out of their shell and do things they and others never thought possible. Once the games were over, all athletes, volunteers, and coaches gathered in the center of Soldier Stadium and sang "Old Lang Syne." Chicago's Mayor, Richard Daley, had stated it best as he whispered over to Mrs. Schreiber, "The world will never be the same." The athletes weren't the only ones the Special Olympics had an impact on. I, along with all the others who had volunteered back in 1968, had our lives changed too. As we worked firsthand with these athletes, it opened our eyes and helped us learn to accept people with intellectual disabilities despite our differences. As volunteers, we spread our positive experiences to family and friends, increasing the popularity of the games. Due to the influence of the Kennedy name and the 1960s being a decade of change, more people were taking their time to attend one of the games and to learn about people with intellectual disabilities. As they watched these athletes compete, their eyes and hearts were also open to acceptance. It challenged them to evaluate how society was treating these humans, and often made them want to change it. I had no idea Timmy could run that fast. Honestly, I thought they were useless. Poor was I wrong. Being the first program of its kind, Special Olympics helped change the way children and adults with intellectual disabilities live their lives. In 1967, there were approximately 195,000 people living in institutions nationwide. By 1998, there were less than 53,000 residents. This innovative change gave children and adults with intellectual disabilities a complete life, with a proper education, the opportunity for a job, and the chance to become contributing members of society. The Special Olympics also had an impact on the making of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, prohibiting the discrimination for those with intellectual disabilities. It also influenced the making of the Education for the Handicapped Act of 1975, ensuring the right to education for every child with an intellectual disability, requiring schools to provide special education teachers. A study done in 1996 and published in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry summarized the power of the Special Olympics. It stated that Special Olympics athletes had higher social competence scores and more positive self-perception than those who were not participating. Special Olympics was helping with what they thought of themselves and what they felt capable of doing. Special Olympics gave the children something no one else had ever given them: acceptance. This acceptance spread and impacted many other parts of their lives. With nearly 3 million athletes in over 180 countries today, the Special Olympics has grown immensely, along with greater awareness for those with intellectual disabilities. Eyes and hearts have been changed forever. Opportunities and acceptance continue to grow, all with the help of one new idea and one innovative event. the Special Olympics.